Over the span of 2 previous videos, I showed you my favorite fragrances from 16 designer and niche brands. You should definitely go check those out if you missed them. And as per Akilo Jackson's request that you see on screen, they said that I should do a list celebrating what I believe to be the most underrated fragrances from niche brands.
So that's what we're doing today.
I've chosen 8 brands, and each fragrance I chose from these brands are not necessarily my favorite ones, but they are all very good offerings in their own right. They each have something special about them, and they're just simply overshadowed by bigger fragrances from each brand for whatever reason. If you'd like to see a designer version, make sure you hit the like button and let me know down in the comments, and let's dive right into it. First brand we're going to talk about is Acqua di Parma. They are known for their citrus aromatic fragrances, very classic Italian style, cologne style fragrances, very fresh, citrusy, bright, zesty, maybe with lots of herbs and woods and spices. Very classy and classic style fragrances. And this one we're talking about is from the Colonia line. And honestly, it's one that I did not expect a lot from because I didn't necessarily love the direction they've taken this line. However, this one surprised me. This is called Colonia Futura. And I was expecting this to smell a little bit more modern or more futuristic as per the name, and smell less like the DNA that the Colonia line has created, but it actually pays very strong homage to the line. Does smell a little bit more mature, a little bit more sophisticated, maybe a touch old world, but still very much modern and easy to wear if you consider yourself a classy person and want to have that kind of personality. This is perfect for that. The easiest way I can describe this, if you've tried Dior Eau Sauvage, the EDT, this is kind of a beefined version of that. It just has more body to it, has more presence. The herbs are amped up here. The citruses, which are very lemony, bright, and mouth-watering, are just as strong here, if not stronger. It actually performs a little better, if that counts for anything. That's the best way I can describe it, but it's not just a clone of Eau Sauvage turned up to 11. It does still have that Colonia DNA in it, that very classic style DNA. This one is definitely not talked about a whole lot. It's easily overlooked, so I would check it out if you're looking for a sophisticated citrus aromatic with good presence and great quality. That is Colonia Futura from Acqua di Parma. From the house of Creed, let's get this out of the way. I know a lot of people are very upset with Creed. They don't care about Creed. They boycott Creed. I get it. They've gone in a very head-scratching direction, even though it's pretty clear why they've done what they've done. But I still love the heritage of the brand. I still really appreciate their older offerings. And this one that came out in the year 2000, easily overlooked, primarily because it doesn't perform that great. Nonetheless, wonderful scent profile that is totally worth checking out, getting a sample of if you can. This is called Tabaron Millésime. And one way I could describe this fragrance is a Millésime Imperial flanker. If you've tried Millésime Imperial, you're familiar with that elegant, posh, salty, musky, fresh, fruity, aquatic-like fragrance that it is. And they basically took that, they got rid of the fruits, amped up more of a citrus feel, and added tobacco, a dry, slightly dusty tobacco that makes this stuff really classy. It makes it a perfect summer tobacco, which you don't see very often. There is a little bit of this salty vibe, not necessarily marine-like. I think it does come from the ambergris, which is a signature of these fragrances. I think it's a fantastically sophisticated scent DNA. If you like Millésime Imperial, you'll most likely enjoy this too. Just maybe smells a little bit more grown up in a way. So that's Tabaron Millésime. Highly underrated, highly underappreciated. Again, I understand why, but at the same time, I don't. From the house of Nishane, we hear about Ani, we hear about Hachivat, we hear about 100 Silent Ways, we hear about Wulong Cha, all wonderful fragrances, but again, there's plenty that go underappreciated and overlooked, and this is one of them. From the genius of Dominique Ropillon, we have Papi Le Fico. I don't know why more people don't talk about this fragrance. Before I got my hands on this, I had never heard of it before. I had never seen anyone speak about it. And it honestly was not what I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be more of an aromatic, woody type of fragrance, maybe almost more like a fougere. There is a little bit of a fougere quality in here, but it is mostly kind of sweet and resinous with its woodiness, with its mossiness. And it has a lot of pop from cardamom, from some herbs. It's fresh, spicy, almost a little bit alluring, but has a classy feeling to it. It's kind of like a slightly more grown-up version of Desir Toxic from Mika Left. Not quite as bad boy smelling, a little bit more sophisticated if you will, but easily wearable, actually quite versatile if you love it. I think it deserves more talk. So let me know if you've checked it out. If not, I'm gonna have links down below to check out Papille Fico from Nishane. From Fragrance du Bois, a fragrance house that I do believe has a little bit of controversy because of their price tag. They do ask for a lot of money in exchange for their fragrances, and a lot of people don't consider it worth it depending on performance or whatever. What I do have to say is every fragrance I've tried from them has great quality, beautiful blends, maybe not all the most unique, but really well put together fragrances, easy to wear, and on me, most of them perform just fine to varying degrees, but my skin tends to hold on to fragrances for whatever reason, and I know that's not the case for everyone. Nonetheless, this is one I don't see a ton of talk about, maybe not the most unknown, but it's definitely not the first one you hear people talk about when we talk about Fragrance du Bois, and it's Secret Tryst. Now, this is one of my favorites from the collection. This is sensual. This is alluring, this is cozy, cuddly, fall vibes, but it does have a little bit of a classiness to it. It's kind of like a vanilla, resinous, sweet, ambery feeling fragrance. It is warm, it is very autumnal, it smells like you're sitting inside on a cozy afternoon or cozy evening. You see the leaves on the trees changing into those brilliant shades of orange and gold and things like that, and brown. It has that vibe, warm, sweet, resinous, alluring, very attractive. Perfectly unisex, and I mean perfectly. Somehow they split this perfectly down the middle, so no one needs to worry about smelling too feminine or too masculine. In the B-roll, you'll literally see on the bottle it says pour homme, pour femme. They put both of them there for a reason. But I would highly recommend checking out Secret Tryst if you haven't already. It's going to be perfect for the cooler months, which we are in, and we'll just continue to roll on, but check it out if you haven't already. Now let's talk about the house of Bond Number 9. I'll be honest, Bond Number 9 is not one of my favorite houses. I have like 4 fragrances from them, and they're all very pleasant. I like a couple of them a lot. The others are okay. This is one I do actually like a lot. It actually surprised me because it does smell a little bit different. It does have slightly higher quality, and the scent profile, while being a little bit familiar in its genre, is not exactly like anything else I've ever smelled, and it's gonna be a little polarizing, and that's not easy to say about Bond Number 9. This scent profile for its character is not for everyone. It is an aquatic, but it's very particular. This is called Wall Street. This is a very strong, and I mean strong, cucumber seaweed aquatic. Green, seaweedy, watery, fresh. But the way it sits on the skin, when you get it in the air around you on a hot day, especially when you don't spray too much, it's a very classy smelling aquatic, and I don't see anyone talking about this. Now, I will say that the bottle is very misleading. I don't think this is a great bottle design for this fragrance. Black with gold embleming. This looks like it would smell like oud and rose and sweet ambery tones. No, this is an aquatic. So it's weird that they chose this, but it is a good looking bottle. Nonetheless, I do think it is underrated, and it's one of the few I could actually recommend from the brand. Anyway, that is Wall Street. From Roger Parfum, this is easily one of the most unique fragrances they have produced. I'm surprised more people don't talk about it. It does have a distinctive personality to it, which if you know me, that's what I'm going for. So I really appreciate this fragrance, not just because it's different, but because it's beautiful. This is called A Midsummer Dream. Let me know if you've tried this one. This is not going to be your easy breezy, spray on without thinking about it, kind of freshy for the summertime. It's not going to be the coziest, sexiest, most alluring fragrance to wear during the winter time. It does have an ease of wear. It is kind of fresh and citrusy in a way, but it is mostly floral, mossy, dry, sweet, and resinous. There's elemi resin, which is a piney, sweet, fresh, but still damp smelling resin mixed with some rose. It is technically a sheep, and it has that vibe. It is kind of that dryness that you expect from this very old style of fragrance, but it's a very modern and unique take on the genre. I love this for its classiness, its elegance. Not one I need to spray much of because I think it could be overwhelming. There's a little bit of a powderiness that can come out too much if you spray too much, but get yourself a sample of this stuff. I know it's not cheap, but I do think this is one of the fragrances from the brand that is truly worth it in terms of niche because it's so different. A Midsummer Dream. From the house of Zerzhoff, there are so many fragrances from this house I have not tried and really want to try, but there's been maybe a dozen or so that I have tried. I have several bottles in my collection. I have a bunch of decants. This is one that's been around for a little while, and it came out basically alongside some much more popular fragrances from the house, and unfortunately those overshadowed this one, in addition to one other next to it. From the 1861 collection, I believe there's 4 fragrances. Renaissance, which I have, love it. Naxos, I don't have. That's probably the most popular, the most hype from the brand. Decas, which no one really talks about. I've only tried it in sample form. Not my favorite, but I do need to revisit it. And then there's Zafiro. I don't understand why we're not talking about Zafiro more these days. This is a beautiful, easily wearable, fresh, woody incense fragrance. Smoky, wispy, but cooling, a little bit sweet. There is this interesting white wine accord. When you first spray it on, it kind of sparkles. Smells very elegant. This is kind of a day or night scent, and again, it is very specific. Maybe that's why it doesn't appeal to everyone. When you cast a wide net in terms of scent personality, you reel in more people. This is a narrow net, so you have to like incense forward fragrances, but trust me, it does not smell like church. It is fresh, it is gentle, but it does have presence, beautifully blended, and it's a little bit unique. That's Zafiro from Zerzhoff. If you haven't tried it, gonna have links down below. And Amouage. Amouage is our final brand here, and what is a fragrance I could choose that not enough people talk about? Again, there's several fragrances from Amouage similar to Zerzhoff that I still have yet to try or really spend ample time with. Lyric Man, I only have a decant of that, which I like. I've tried Journeyman, that one's great too. Memoir Man, that one's great. Those are actually a little bit more talked about than this one. There's many others I still want to try, and I own many that I do love, but this one, not a lot of talk. And this is one I had to grow into. I didn't love it at first sniff several years ago, but now I love Bracken Man. A very unique, very robust take on the fougere. This is daytime, classy, dressed up, confident, authoritative grown man vibes. I can see why it would sit in the collection next to Beach Hut Man. I think even Sunshine Man is in this collection. All of them very unique, particular scent profiles. Love the personality of this. Dry, spicy cloves. You gotta love cloves. Marginally sweet, kind of creamy and smooth, similar to a typical fougere, but way drier. Dry, mossy, woody, spicy, warm, more fall time vibes. Might smell a little bit old school to some folks, but still smells like nothing else out there. Bracken Man, highly underappreciated, highly underrated. I recommend you try it out if you haven't. Gonna have a link down below to Bracken Man, but if you have tried it, let me know down in the comments. Beautiful stuff. That's it. Let me know what you think down in the comments of these fragrances. If you've tried them, do you consider these to be underrated? Let's talk about it. And once again, everything's going to be linked down in the description if you want to try anything. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.